Good morning. I'm Jasmine Anderson. Long Islanders are dealing with the aftermath of those severe storms. This is new video into our newsroom of a road collapsing in Stony Brook. It was posted on social media by the Brookhaven town supervisor. Suffolk police say part of Main Street and Harbor Road collapsed early this morning, causing the pond at the grist mill to completely drain. Police say 6 houses in the area were evacuated shortly after the collapse, but its residents later returned to their homes. The flash flooding closed roads across the island, trapping drivers in deep water. This was a scene in Brentwood. Suffolk officials tell us they received dozens of reports of basements flooded and downed trees as well. The National Weather Service says we'll see showers and scattered thunderstorms this afternoon. There's a coastal flood advisory in effect until midnight, as well as a high rip current risk. Read more about the storm's aftermath on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. The Democratic National Convention kicks off today. Tonight, President Biden will take center stage, making his case for Kamala Harris to become our next president. Sherry Einhorn is in Chicago with what Long Island voters are looking to hear from the party.
We are here in Chicago as the Democratic National Convention gets underway. We're expecting it to be a busy week here in Chicago with lots of big names scheduled to speak. The goal, of course, to rally the party here at the convention and all across the country. President Joe Biden, former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State and Senator Hillary Clinton, just to name a few. But beyond the pomp and circumstance of this convention, we asked Long Island voters, what do they want to hear from Democrats here this week that will impact them at home?
What I do want to hear is, what are you going to do different from the promises that President Biden said? What are you going to do for the middle class so that they can be sustainable in New York? And especially on Long Island at this time.
I feel like New York and Long Island overall is overwhelmed by all this, immigrants that just kind of overwhelm our housing system, and it's not sustainable. I feel like the Democrats have largely avoided this topic for the most part, and I hope they make it clear what their plans are.
I definitely want to know about women's rights. Obviously deeply concerned about that as a young woman living on Long Island. Obviously worried about education as well, what's happening with that. And obviously the economy, worried about how much shopping costs.
I don't know if they all tell the truth about anything, so I'm skeptical of anything I expect as far as what they're actually going to do,
I don't like their message, don't like what they did to the country over the last 3.5 years.
We'll be here all week catching up with key Democrats like Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and former Congressman Steve Israel to get their take on what happens here and how it affects us on Long Island. In Chicago, I'm Sherry Einhorn for NewsdayTV.
Sherry, thank you. Read more from our team at the Democratic National Convention on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Happening today, a source telling Newsday former Long Island Congressman George Santos is expected to plead guilty today. The Republican who was expelled from Congress will be back in a Central Islip courtroom. He's facing several federal charges, including identity theft, wire fraud, and lying to Congress. Today marks the first official day of high school football practice, and Smithtown East didn't wait. They kicked things off this morning a minute after midnight.
Once you get in here, you feel the energy in the building. It's there's nothing like it, First day out here, everybody at midnight. It shows our dedication.
I actually started last year and talking about what a big deal football is in Texas and Florida and places like that. And one of their traditions is Midnight Madness, where essentially the whole town comes out and supports the team, and they start at 12:01 under the stars. And we had to do a little improvisation because we're still waiting on our lights, but they're coming next year.
I think it's the best thing that's ever happened to the program. When you come out here in the middle of the night, when no one else is working, you're the only guys out here at this time, it builds that confidence in you that, hey, we're doing something that no one else is doing. We're doing something different than everyone else.
The plan is to move the madness outdoors next year with lights coming to the turf field. For more on high school sports, visit Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box on our homepage.
Newsday Sports is brought to you by King O'Rourke Automotive Group.
Sled hockey, empowering athletes on the East End. Jamie Stewart has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
I was very excited to find out that the sport continues after disabilities.
Clean passes, good shots.
When I was a kid, I was very socially awkward, and this taught me that, there are people like me that can do these things.
Gotta take the hit. This is hockey. Pressure, Gabe, pressure. I've been playing sled hockey about 20 years. Back, Buster, back! At the age of 9, I was diagnosed with something called astrocytomas, which is tumors in a spinal cord. And at the age of 20, I had back surgery that left me paraplegic and in a wheelchair.
Larry and the rest of his New York Rangers sled hockey teammates were on the ice this past weekend as part of the Peconic Ice Rink's Hockey is Hockey Day. Yes, it was competitive, but all of these players are really on the same team.
I was born with spina bifida.
Put it on net!
When I was about 15, I found out about sled hockey. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. So I said, I want to try that.
So did Chris from Bellport, even if his battles have been different than his teammates.
We have to remember that not all disabilities are visible, and so I was served in the U.S. Army, deployed to Afghanistan, had an injury.
Deep!
It's really about building those communities, getting the support, getting people involved. I mean, it's probably the greatest thing I ever did.
A sentiment shared among his Rangers teammates.
Defense, defense!
Being part of a team is the best thing that ever happened to me.
1, 2, 3, Rangers!
In Calverton, Jamie Stewart, NewsdayTV.
Very inspirational. Thank you, Jamie. Read more exclusive sports stories like this on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. He's known as the father of U.S. submarines, and he set up the nation's first base right here on Long Island. John Valenti has a story you'll see only in Newsday.
So there's a historic marker in this empty lot in New Suffolk, declaring it the first submarine base in America. I started talking to naval historians and local historians in Suffolk County in the town of Southold, and found the story of John Philip Holland. Holland was an Irish immigrant who had trained to be a priest, dropped out of the priesthood. His family emigrated to America in 1873. Holland had read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne, which had introduced the idea of submarines to the world. So the Holland Torpedo Boat Company is in New Suffolk from 1899 to 1905. During that time, they merged with the Electric Boat Company and moved to Groton, Connecticut, where eventually they become General Dynamic Electric Boat, which is the builder of nuclear-powered submarines today for the U.S. Navy. The day that the Holland had been commissioned by the U.S. Navy is regarded as Submarine Day, and the Navy regards that little spot in New Suffolk as the roots of the entire submarine force and U.S. naval history.
John, thank you. Read more about Long Island submarine history on Newsday.com. Click Get More below the Newsday TV video box. Checking out your hyperlocal Monday forecast. We're drying out after the overnight downpours. Here's a look outside at West Lake Beach and Inlet in Montauk. Warmer and more humid today, with some more spotty showers and storms this afternoon. There is a coastal flood advisory in effect until midnight, with a flood warning for some parts of the island. Checking out your day planner, mostly cloudy, isolated thunderstorms later today, highs in the low 80s. And here's a look at your futurecast. Spotty showers throughout the day, possible thunderstorms this evening, and then we clear out. Here's a look at your 7-day forecast. You can see a clear difference. No rain, plenty of sunshine.
Long Island weather is brought to you by PTRC.
I'm Jasmine Anderson. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great Monday.